He was calm, older, and dressed like any ordinary traveler. When he walked into the terminal at Crescent Bay International, no one gave him a second glance. No badges, no entourage, just a navy jacket, crisp slacks, and a plain leather briefcase. That man, now known as Marcus Ellison, wasn't a random passenger. He was a senior compliance officer from the National Transportation Review Board, NTRB, conducting a surprise inspection. But the gate agent didn't know that. And before anyone realized who he was, she tore his passport in half, accusing him of forgery. It started with a simple check-in. Marcus walked up to Gate 9B, headed for a flight to Vancouver. The woman at the counter, Lacey Hargrove, early 40s, frosty demeanor, platinum curls tucked behind slim-framed glasses, barely looked at him before flipping open his passport. She frowned. "Is this really yours?" she asked with a tone that wasn't casual curiosity. Marcus replied politely that it was. She didn't seem convinced. "What's your reason for traveling?" "Business," he said. "What kind?" "Transport systems." Still, she hesitated. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. Then, without warning, she muttered, "This looks fake." And before Marcus could reply, she tore the passport in half. The area around them went silent. A mother cradling a toddler froze mid-bounce. A college kid in a hoodie looked up from his tablet. Even a guy half asleep by the vending machine sat upright. Lacey crossed her arms and told Marcus he would need to wait for airport authorities. She spoke as if she'd just prevented a major security breach. "Please repeat what you just said," Marcus asked her calmly. "You heard me," she said, lips curled in a smirk. Then the whispers started. A woman nearby filmed the scene from behind her coffee cup. A Delta worker overheard the exchange and stepped in. "What's going on?" He presented forged documents. Lacey snapped. "You destroyed a passport?" he asked, stunned. "It was fake." Then Marcus opened his briefcase. Inside, he held up a federal ID, briefly, just long enough for the staff member to see. "Sir, are you with the NTRB?" the worker asked. "I am," Marcus replied evenly. Silence. Lacey's face drained of color. "I'll need the full names of every gate employee on duty," Marcus said. Phones were already out. Videos uploading. Conversations bubbling. The entire atmosphere had shifted. This wasn't a security matter anymore. It was a reckoning. Within minutes, a regional supervisor arrived. Marcus was asked to step into a private area for debriefing. Lacey, escorted separately, was no longer in control. Cameras recorded. Passengers tweeted. Within the hour, news outlets were picking up the clip. Federal inspector accused denied boarding. Inside the security wing, Marcus laid out a folder for complaints over 2 months, each tied to this gate, each describing racial profiling and selective treatment. The supervisor, Teresa Medina, stiffened. "Why didn't we catch this?" "It wasn't about punishment," Marcus said. "It was about confirming a pattern." An officer arrived to escort him further inside the airport's admin center. As they walked, Teresa's phone buzzed nonstop. News had already spread across national networks. One video had over 1 million views in under 2 hours. By the time they reached the control room, the airline's legal rep and a senior operations chief were already there. Marcus placed the torn passport pieces, now stored in an envelope, on the table without comment. "Are you pressing charges?" someone asked. "I'm completing my audit," Marcus said, "and submitting this to federal oversight." The documents included past complaints, surveillance timestamps, and observed behaviors. One line stuck out. "This was not a misunderstanding. This was misconduct." They offered apologies. He didn't accept them, because that wasn't the point. Outside the room, Twitter exploded. Former travelers shared their own experiences. One man said Lacey had pulled him aside because he looked nervous en route to his father's funeral. A woman recalled being asked if her child was really hers. Others remembered her face. They weren't surprised. By day's end, Lacey Hargrove was on leave. By week's end, she was terminated. In Washington, D.C., Marcus returned to his office. He didn't seek interviews or headlines. He filed a 34-page report. Quiet, exact, detailed, just like every report he'd written over 30 years. But this one was different. Other inspectors joined his effort. More stories surfaced, more audits launched, and policies began to change, slowly but visibly. Gate agents now had new training protocols. Internal logs were reviewed weekly. Cameras were upgraded. No one could just look the other way anymore. Weeks later, Marcus returned to Crescent Bay, not for work, just to observe. He watched staff speak more carefully, treat people with more patience, respond with less assumption. A young couple with a baby received help without asking. An elderly man was gently reassured about a delay. Small shifts, but meaningful. He passed by the policy wall near Gate 9B and caught his reflection. Tired eyes, steady posture. He thought of Lacey, not with spite, but with clarity. She hadn't invented anything. She'd just finally been seen. At the curb, his driver, a woman with long braids, recognized him. "You're the guy from that video, right?" "I suppose I am. My cousin's a screener here," she said. "He told me things feel different now." "I didn't light the fire," Marcus said. "I just didn't let them smother it." As they drove, she added, "It matters. Being treated like you belong. Being seen." "They never forgot," he said quietly. "They were just taught not to expect it." That night, another clip surfaced from another city. This time, a passenger questioned for not matching his ID, but the supervisor stepped in early and made it right. No headlines, no outrage, just a small correction that could ripple forward. Marcus turned off the screen. He didn't need fame. He needed change. And now, people were finally asking the right questions. What started as an ordinary gate interaction became the spark that lit a wider conversation. One torn passport, one wrong assumption, and one quiet man refusing to be dismissed. Those were the elements that turned routine injustice into a national wake-up call. Marcus Ellison didn't raise his voice. He didn't argue. He let the truth speak for itself, and the world listened. But this story isn't just about Marcus or the agent who misjudged him. It's about how many moments like this pass unnoticed, undocumented, unchallenged. It's about how bias hides in plain sight, dressed as standard procedure or just doing my job. It's about the weight people carry when systems aren't built to trust them. The fallout was immediate. Policy reviews, staff removals, and a media storm that left no room for excuses. But the deeper impact? That came later. In gate lounges where passengers were finally greeted with patience. In training rooms where silence no longer meant safety. In inboxes filled with stories, painful, overdue, honest. Marcus didn't set out to become a symbol. He set out to do his job. But in doing so, he reminded us of the power of staying steady in the face of injustice, of writing everything down, of not letting it slide, just because it's always been that way. Now, the question isn't whether this will be remembered. It's whether we'll act differently the next time we see someone treated like a problem instead of a person. Because the system didn't fail all at once. It failed moment by moment, until someone finally said enough. So if you've ever been made to feel invisible or questioned just for showing up, know this. You're not alone anymore, and someone is watching now.